Definitely mailed in Friday. Jim Taddy, Dave Festuck from the Toronto Star with you. Overdrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Coming up very shortly, Mike Farron will stop by. MLB Network host and Ryan Dinwiddie will stop by, coach of the Argos who have the weekend off. Tonight we have Calgary in Saskatchewan, 9 o'clock. TSN 1, 3, and 5. Tomorrow night, Ottawa and Hamilton. And on Sunday, BC and Edmonton. So only 3 games this week, which is kind of odd, but it does happen. And a week from now, the Toronto Indy will be in the streets of Toronto. They'll be off and racing. TSN 1050 giving you a chance to win VIP club access at the Ontario Honda Dealers Indy Toronto. Today's insider keyword is throttle.
I like that one.
Throttle. Starting right now, you have 10 minutes and 50 seconds to text throttle along with your name and city to 105050. Next Monday, or this Monday actually, first up, we'll be calling one listener with a VIP package, including seats in a covered suite, located trackside and turn 11 food and beverage, access to the IndyCar paddock to get up close with teams, cars, and drivers, and of course, standard message rates apply. Full details at tsn1050.ca.
I love the sound of engines revving in the distance, man. It's a great weekend in Toronto when the Indy cars are in town.
And the Jays will be home too, so go train.
Yes.
Local transit.
Or just walk.
Yeah.
If you can.
So we were playing that Mini Max game. Let's do it with the Raptors while we're waiting for Mike to talk about Major League Baseball. What is your minimum for the Raptors as they stand right now?
Like, my minimum might be the same as my maximum if I'm talking about what I expect them to do between now and the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Because it's precisely nothing. I mean, they've kind of tied up a lot of money in all these guys. They don't really have a lot of leeway here. And all the hope that maybe we had of Masai Ujiri pulling a big name out of his hat with a big kind of franchise-changing trade, I think that's dissipated, because guess what? Masai Ujiri is not working there anymore. And it feels to me like, there's a belief that what they have now can get them where they want to go, at least for the coming season.
And maybe keep them there for a year or two. I guess my minimum is they leave it as is. But as I say that, this is kind of like the Leaf conversation. If you get through their starting 5 of Quickly, Ingram, Barrett, Barnes, and Pirtle, then you get to the second unit, Shed, Dick, Abaji, Murray Boyles, and Mobo, and also Jacoby Walters in there. You've got a lot of young players. And as I said to Jack the other day, some of those guys started and played big minutes, and now they're going to be asked to do finer-tuned, more specific stuff with less minutes. And they've almost got duplication of service there. I mean, they have some assets. If they wanted to do some asset management, they might be able to do that.
It's possible. They could thin out the ranks a little bit. You're right.
It's a pretty young second unit.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a young second unit. You could probably better define the roles. And let's face it, they're still short of shooting. So they got to be looking for that somehow. They're still short bigs, right? That's been a constant problem. So there's definitely things they can improve, but I'm just not sure that this is the moment for that, right?
You almost have to let it sort of go on its own course for a while. I mean, if you're going to finish 6th, that's a consensus that's as good as they could do. If you leave it alone, why wouldn't you just do that?
Do that and see where you are.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, the problem with this team, Jim, for me, is just haven't seen them play together enough.
You haven't seen the starting 5 because Ingram hasn't played.
Yeah, and even Quickly didn't play enough, right? Like,
no,
for a guy making $32.5 million for the next 4 years, there's a lot to be proven there about what he can actually bring this franchise. So, I think that this is a really important year just to kind of start to understand what this team can be under Darko Rajakovic, because it's not clear right now to me.
No. Well, we talked about a big motor with Cooper Flagg. There's a lot of guys in this team that have a good motor.
Yeah.
And they're fun to watch. Even when they were starting people that nobody knew, they were still fun to watch.
That's the thing. I mean, that's if the Raptors have had one kind of non-negotiable with the way they've drafted, it's in a lot of ways it's been that sort of, you got to be a competitor. You got to have a motor. And Colin Murray Boyles, defensive guy that they just drafted in the first round, falls into that category and should add to the collection.
Yeah, so sometime over the next 55 minutes, we'll return back to the Raptors story and deal with the Max. Right now, let's segue over to baseball. Mike Farron is here, MLB Network host. Mike, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, guys. How are you?
Very good, thanks. So, with the Jays doing what they're doing and obviously fast forwarding by just, 20 days to the trade deadline, what do you see them doing?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I think they'll be active. I thought Ben Nicholson-Smith did a really nice job kind of handling this week on Sportsnet website, just a little bit of what they've done when they've been in the race over the last 5 years. So my guess is it's going to be a little bit of a couple of things. I think they'll probably look for some offensive help. I think that's one of my more pressing concerns with them. I think that there are a couple of guys that might be a little bit out over their skis. And that the team, really isn't any different in terms of what their approach has been this year from where they were a year ago. And certainly there are guys that are having much better seasons, right? Vladdy's had a good year. Bobichette significantly better. Obviously, George Springer's been amazing. Kirk's been great to this point. But I think a little bit more offensive certainty would make some sense to me. Maybe in the outfield, adding somebody who can hit right-handed, I think is probably somebody that fits the bill. And then I think, they're probably looking for the same thing that most every team is looking for, which is guys that can miss bats either in the rotation or the bullpen. I mean, that's the name of the game, is how do you get strikeouts? And while the pitching staff has been pretty good of late, I don't think they need to limit it just to say, hey, we need a bullpen arm or we need a starter. I think they're probably going to look at multiple arms. I would think that the idea is how can you shorten the game in the postseason, right? And offensively, how can you grind out at bats to put the most pressure on the opposing team? And so those will be the goals of what they're trying to achieve at the deadline. And as to who that means, I don't know, because we still don't know who's going to be selling and who's going to be selling what. That's the nature of 40% of the league making the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. And that really is the tricky equation to crack here between now and July 31st is who will be the buyers, who will be the sellers. And I guess, we've got a lot of time on our hands here, 20-some days until that moment. But, what's your best guess? Like, one team that keeps coming up, because the Jays obviously have ties to them and they have some interesting, intriguing assets, the Cleveland Guardians. Start there. Like, what's your best guess on Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cleveland, they just won 4 in a row, right? They won the opener of the doubleheader against the White Sox today. They're still in the wild card mix. Cleveland's a little bit of a wild card in this because they're a team that will, and I'll steal the word that John Mozeliak, the head of operations for the Cardinals, loves to use, which is they love to arbitrage, right? So they will buy and sell at the same time. Just because they trade somebody doesn't mean they're punting a season. So they could be one of those fits. I would think that there probably is a little bit of bullpen talk. You've started to hear some rumors about Stephen Kwan. I think they're probably less likely to move him. That feels like hey, we're getting ready for another year down the line, because they're really good at having conversations with teams that they pick up further away. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's the possibility of anybody that's on an expiring contract there. And if the Jays were really willing to part with something significant that could help Cleveland in the future, that make their organization better, then maybe they would be willing to talk about Emmanuel Clase. But I wouldn't hold out much hope on that, especially, listen, they're playing the White Sox right now, who are the worst team in the American League. If they sweep that series, all of a sudden they've essentially erased that 10-game losing streak.
And of course, Mike, the Jays will not be the only aggressive shoppers, if indeed they decide to be aggressive shoppers. I mean, there's a lot of talk that the Yankees will get out there and really be looking to fill the holes they've got at third base and second base, and the Dodgers obviously always are buyers. The Tigers, having the year they're having. Like, who do you think the biggest threat is to the Blue Jays to sort of get in front of them with the shopping cart and maybe pluck the assets that they wish they could have acquired?
Yeah, so it's a good question, because the problem is that not everybody's looking for the same thing, right? So I don't know that the Jays are necessarily looking for a third base